What's up, guys? If you've been watching the channel for a while, you know that I had a 67 Corvette, and at the end of the year, last year, I had to kind of send it home because of the setup that I currently have right here. The temperatures were getting too cold, and it was kind of too cold to be using some body filler, and I don't have a sufficiently heated barn, so that's kind of why it was sent home. And then it was going to be finished whenever the weather warmed up, and now that the weather is super toasty, it's back so it can be finished. So in this video, that's kind of what we're working on. We're just trying to get the blue all laid down on there, and then we'll have to mask out for the black stripe that's going to go on the hood and then down under the nose. So basically in this video, we're just going to be putting all the blue on. The door jambs and everything like that are shot, but I'll get into that later in the video. So the video is going to kind of be a little bit of everywhere because it was a lot of work and I was trying to get things done in a timely fashion. So the video is going to be a little bit of painting, a little bit of like blocking down the primer. So we're just going to go ahead and jump right into it. So I will explain kind of what's going on as it's like step by step, but this actually did get base coated and clear coated in Marina Blue. And as you can see, it's already a mess because the way I like to do it is I like to lay on the clear, especially if I'm going to go stripe, rather than just clear coat the hood and bury the stripe in there. I would rather clear coat the entire car because it honestly kind of gives me a second chance to go back and fix any kind of imperfections. So that is what we're using this second trip to the paint booth for, which will be whenever we go to lay the stripes on, which when this thing is completely done and it's all shined up, I'm definitely going to make another video just showing you guys the car. So anyways, I'll kind of describe the steps and just how you get to, you know, kind of where we're at. I did go through here and polish that up, and I will show you later in the video what this will look like whenever it's done. But all right, guys, so like I was saying, I've got the door jambs painted up here, and those turned out pretty good. I got the doors sitting over here on stands, so those all came out pretty good as well. So the next step for this is just we're going to be putting on the weather stripping, and we're going to mount the doors back on the car. And then at that point, we'll go and we'll spray the whole outside of this. It's much easier to, you know, get the weather stripping on the door and then mount the door back on versus like mounting the door, trying to put the weather stripping on there with the door on, and you're having to like reach around the back side of the door. So we're not going to mess around with any of that. We're just simply going to put the weather stripping on, put the doors on, mask everything off. And then, you know, as long as we take our time and mask everything correctly, we're not going to have any kind of overspray or anything. Obviously painted both door jambs. And the underside of the rear cover here is painted as well. So, you know, this intricate stuff like this, didn't spend a whole lot of time on it. So the only thing left really is just to kind of sand out a few of these little spots. I'm just chasing little pinholes through, you know, some of the more involved repair areas, you know, using more fiberglass and stuff like that leaves little tiny pinholes sometimes. So that's what you're seeing in red. So I'll go through there and sand all those out. And then honestly, it's so close to being able to paint this thing. All right, guys, so now that the car is back together and the door jambs are painted like I was saying, so now that the whole thing is actually in 320 grit, and I go to that grit with a sanding block. I mean, there's many different sanding blocks, but I just use a peel and stick roll of paper and get it down to 320. I do have a video where I kind of go over the steps in doing this, so I'm not going to go over it again in this video. I'll just link to the other video up in the corner. But what you're seeing smeared all over it right now is a dry guide coat. So this is it right here. It is a Duracoat product, and this stuff has lasted me forever. It's basically an applicator pad, and mine's kind of wore out. As you can see, I've used a lot of it. So this stuff is actually really cheap compared to how much you can cover with it. So I've spread that all over the car, but let's try to give you a close-up here. So just rubbing that on there, you can actually see your sanding marks right there. You can actually see where I had put the tape too. So that just shows you you know, how much stuff that this can pick up, because if I run my hand over this, I cannot feel where that tape was at. But whenever you put this stuff all over the car, you can just begin to see everything. So one of the final steps here is a DA sander. And this is it's important that you don't try a rotary sander on this. This is a DA for dual action, because it not only rotates like this, it actually oscillates as well. So that's why this is so important. It's not going to focus in one area. It's gentle, and you're not going to get a bunch of different textures in here as you're going over it. Another important part of this is the stick-on pad right here. So this is an interface pad, I believe is what most companies call it. But the reason this is so important is because there's some give to it. So as you're going over a panel, like, you know, through here, that's got a little bit of a curve to it, it will actually contour to the body a lot better than if it was just a completely hard disc. So you can see right there, it's wanting to contour to the body. So that's why this is super important. One more thing real quick. As far as the pads go, we're using a 3M 6-inch Hookit. It's another name for Velcro, but 600 grit red abrasive. I will link to this down in the description as well. And another thing is just make sure it's kind of clear of dirt, because right there I'm already seeing stuff I don't like on this pad because I just stuck it to the bottom of that box. So I'm going to go ahead and swap that out. All right, guys, I know it looks like a mess right now, but here's what we're working with. So right now, all these little drips you're seeing, this is from the wet sanding and buffing, but basically this is what you do. you take like a 1000 grit sandpaper and you start working it, and you work it down as much as you can. You want this like flat finish. If you see like little itty bitty imperfections like that, not a problem. You can actually sand through, and honestly, when you go through here and you cut and buff it and everything, it is going to take all those little pinholes out of there. So I'm going to show you what it looks like when it's like freshly sprayed first. All right, so there's multiple different ways to do this, obviously. I personally always wet sand and buff everything that I do because, you know, I just plan on that because there's not a perfect paint job like I was telling you. So with my setup where I have an outside paint booth and I live right near the woods, I mean, you can see out there's just nothing but woods around me. So with that setup, I prefer that I clean the panel off and then I use a faster drying clear coat. And the reason why is because it sets up real fast and I know that I'm not going to have any dust or bugs or anything get in there before it dries. So with that, you do have texture because, you know, you're not doing the slower drying stuff that likes to sit there and level out. So this is the best way that I do it for my setup. If you have like a paint booth and the whole thing's spotless, sure, go for the, you know, flowing out stuff. But for me, I just want to get the paint on there, let it dry, and then I bring it in here for the cutting and buffing stage. But so when you look at it down here, you can see for sure there's a texture, orange peel, whatever you want to call it. It's just texture in the clear coat. And that texture is pretty much all over the entire car. So basically, whenever you sand it down, you're looking for that nice, smooth, flat finish. This car will actually be getting stripes. They'll be painted on. So that's why we're leaving this, you know, completely flat right now. This is a 1000 grit. So everything's nice and level. We will tape everything off and paint the stripe on. We're not doing any kind of vinyl stripes here. We're going to paint it black. And then the reason I said that I'll actually go through here and sand this back down again is because the whole car will get clear coated a final time. So with that, you know, if you see any little imperfections, you can go in there and fix it. And then your final time into the booth, you know, if you need to spray some blue back on there and, you know, blend it all in, if there's an area that you don't like if a hair gets in there or a bug or whatever, which honestly in this paint job, I feel like it's actually pretty clean. So that's what that's for. But I just want to kind of show you the difference here. So this is the sanding, nice and flat, and then a compound and polish. And this is, it's pretty close to the final product. There's actually one more step in the polish here. So I didn't go overkill. I just wanted to shine it up and then show you guys what it's going to look like. But this will actually probably be a little flatter and have a deeper shine to it whenever that last coat of clear is on there. All right, guys, so that's going to conclude this video, just kind of updating you on the Corvette. And then don't forget, first of all, that we'll be jumping right back into the 56 Chevy. And then once the 56 is done, I have 2 other cars lined up that I know the people on the channel are going to love. So, but those will be probably a couple months away. So if you guys want to see the finished product whenever this whole thing is completely sprayed, put back together, all the chrome's assembled, and everything is put back on this car exactly as it would be seen at a show, then make sure you guys subscribe to the YouTube channel because this thing is going to look really sweet when it's done. Also, a little side note, I know it's been a month since I've posted on my YouTube channel, but honestly, I've just been busy with this kind of stuff and enjoying the 67 F100. I'm telling you, I've had 0 issues. I had like some fluke thing where I had a failed brake pressure sensor switch and it actually caused a leak in the brake system. And if you guys are familiar with how those are set up, actually the brake switch, it's essentially plumbed into the brake system and then pressure goes into it and the sensor will, you know, complete the circuit and then that's what turns your brake lights on. So the sensor has connectors on top of it and one of those pins actually shot out of it and it was bent and everything. It's weird. And it started spraying brake fluid through there. So it was an epic failure. And as I was backing out of my driveway, there's trees right across the street. And I have a very hard sloping driveway. So I'm backing up and I nearly hit the trees across the street, but thankfully nothing happened. I was able to just kind of get it slowed down. I got it back into the driveway. The master cylinder was completely full, so I knew it wasn't like a leak in the brake system, you know, that had happened over time, and then eventually the fluid ran out. It was literally just the issue with that little tiny brake switch. Besides that, again, there was no damage or anything like that, but I got that fixed already. I just welded that sucker shut and we're all good. But I have taken the truck out. I mean, I've honestly probably put a couple thousand miles on it, and I drive it every single day. No issue whatsoever. It's just flawless. I love it. So we will be going to the show down in Tennessee later this year in September. If you guys are attending, I know you're watching a Corvette video, but if you guys are just like my normal people that watch all the videos, then the truck will definitely be down there. So love to see you guys. I even had it out at a couple local car shows. So it's just been a good time of enjoying that. And then during the week, just like really, really working hard trying to get this stuff caught up. So, all right guys, so other than that, again, if you are interested in seeing the finished product, make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel. If you guys have any questions or anything about the work that I've done so far on the Corvette, make sure that you just comment on this video, or you can always reach out to me through my Facebook page. A lot of people do that, and I feel like I'm able to answer the questions a little bit better. All right guys, thanks for watching. I'll catch you guys in the next video.